This is the presentation for the WorldCIST Conference that will be held in Montenegro, but finally will be fully online. And the paper is an online sales system to be managed by people with mental illness. And the presentation will be conducted by Samuel Marcos-Pablos and me, Alicia García-Holgado, from the GRIAL research group of the University of Salamanca. We will follow this structure in order to describe our work. The current situation, in particular in Spain and of course also in Europe, is that the population is aging. So the number of people over 65 is increasing across the next years. And the numbers say that we will achieve 25% in 2033 of people over this age. For this reason, active aging policies are implemented in Spain and also in other countries across the world. Moreover, in the current digital society, the technology is part of our lives and also it should be part of the older citizens. For this reason, there are different initiatives promoted across Europe and in particular in the region in which this research was developed. So in this context, the main objective is to promote ways for older citizens to acquire new skills related to the digital society and use these skills also to promote an active lifestyle and avoid social exclusion. But in this context also there is a problem because the older citizens start to show progressive deterioration of both their physical and mental capacities. So sometimes there are difficulties to use technological solutions. For this reason, some members of the GRIAL research group are working on developing a technological ecosystem to support different aspects of active learning for older citizens. And this technological ecosystem is supported by two national projects, one from the Ministry of Economy and Competitiveness and another one supported by the Regional Ministry of Education of Castilla y León. This technological ecosystem is focused on improving the quality of life of formal and informal caregivers through learning and different access to information. And also providing a set of services for relatives and patients with a particular focus on those who live in rural areas. The main services provided by this technological ecosystem are the social net. This is a social network to support the communication in a private way of relatives and patients with the full support of the caregivers. Also, the Discover tool, that is a platform to support learning and contact with informal caregivers. And also the dashboard to manage all the data inside the technological ecosystem and support decision-making processes. Because of the evolutionary approach of the technological ecosystem, a new service was incorporated. And this service is an online sales platform in order to support the active aging through the technological environments. And the online sales platform is adapted to people with mental illness, although it can be used by other people.
Hi, my name is Samuel Marcos, and I will continue with the description of the prototype of the online sales system. When developing a technological ecosystem, it is important to model the business structure during the early stages of the ecosystem development. The main objective is not to follow a business-first approach, but to develop the business and software structures all together. This approach provides fundamental constraints for the software structure, such as the data taxonomy and ontology, the data architecture, and the data security and lifecycle. All these aspects determine the data governance and allow to establish the organizational structure of the ecosystem. The online sales system has been developed within the province of the technological ecosystem presented before. In order to model the business structure, we have employed the Business Process Modeling Notation, BPMN. The BPMN is a standard for business process modeling that models the steps of a planned business process from end to end. As such, a set of diagrams that describe the different tasks involved in the online store business processes have been obtained. They start from a high-level process conception, using BPMN's choreographic diagrams that show the interaction between participants, described as senders and receivers, concentrating on the message flow. From there, more detailed collaboration diagrams were developed. The collaboration diagrams focus on the different tasks of the business to be coped with by the different participants to achieve a particular goal, such as logging into the sales system. Finally, lower-level business processes describing the different tasks that must be developed by the software components can be obtained. In this image, we can see the collaboration diagram between the customer and the online sales system, describing the process of purchasing a product. Based on the developed business process models, a study has been carried out of the functional and non-functional requirements of the online store software. The functional requirements include the user roles, the data necessary for the client to register on the web, the product information, the order execution, and the tracking. On the other hand, the non-functional requirements include the integration with existing solutions, the usability, and internationalization. Next, the different scenarios of the online sales system were considered, including the product creation and modification, stock visualization, sales, sales cancellation, and from draft sale to historical sale. For each scenario, we considered the description of the scenario, the procedure, that is, the different steps that take place in the scenario, the data set needed to carry out each of the business transactions required for each scenario, and the UML sequence diagram that implements the procedure. In the image, we can see an example of the sequence diagram for adding a new product within the product creation modification scenario. Based on the previous steps, the online store is based on SpreeCommerce, an open-source e-commerce framework which was adapted to the identified needs through the development of extensions. As such, a set of web services under this SOAP standard were created in order to meet the functional and non-functional requirements of the business model. The final stage consisted in the visual design of the online store, focused on providing a satisfying user experience. The design put special emphasis on users with severe and prolonged mental illness. To this end, the design of the different screens associated with each scenario follows the standard of the World Wide Web Consortium in terms of the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. Also, the recommendations for the cognitive accessibility of web content were taken into account.
After the deployment of the beta version of the platform, a usability study was carried out. And this usability study is divided in two phases. The first phase that is described in this paper is the heuristic evaluation with experts. And the second part, the test with the platform with workers, will be conducted in another study in the future. The heuristic evaluation was carried out by two experts following the 10 heuristic proposed by Nielsen. And although the number of evaluators should be higher, the results obtained are useful to improve the system and also to prepare for the next phase with real users. And between the results, it is important to highlight that the expert detected problems associated with most of the heuristic rules, although there are significant differences between the experts. And also, it's important to highlight the results are related to health and documentation rule. Most of the problems were detected in this rule. Also, several problems were detected in the Rule 8 related to aesthetic and minimalist design. Most of them related to the lack of products and images associated with the available products. So the main findings of this study are a number of significant implications for improving the development of e-commerce platforms adapted to users with different abilities. And through this proposal, we get the prototype of an online sales platform in which production and sales are carried out by people with mental illness. Also, it's important to highlight that the prototype of the online store is deployed and is available for the region of Zamora in Spain. Of course, the platform is accessible across the world, but the support for deliver the products are nowadays in one of the regions of Castilla y León, and the plan is to expand to other regions across the country.